Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So we have the full time for this presentation. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the Center of Excellence for Infant and Early Childhood Mental Health Consultations Conference, titled Equity from the Start. My name is Jordan, and I will serve as your session facilitator. And I am joined by Melkisha, who will serve as our technology host today. Just a quick reminder that this session is being recorded and transcription is available through the Zoom platform. Should you have any questions during the session, please feel free to raise your hand and we can unmute you, or you can relay your questions to the chat. There will also be some time for Q&A at the end as well. And we do want to let you know that before we begin, the views, policies, and opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect those of SAMHSA or HHS. So with all of that being said, I'd like to pass it over to Catherine, who will be starting our workshop today.
Thanks so much, Jordan. Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine Bell. Excited to be here with you all today. The title of this session is From Conception to Birth. We'll be talking all about Tennessee's infant early childhood mental health development and sharing some of our story. So in the truest fashion of infant and early childhood mental health, before we dive in, I want to invite you to pause, close your eyes if it feels comfortable, just notice your breath, notice your body. And I encourage you to give yourself permission to fully lean into our time together, to set aside any distractions, and we'll do this together. Next slide. So here we have our learning objectives for today. Over the course of the next few minutes, we hope to identify the historical partnerships and relationships that primed Tennessee for mental health consultation. We'll talk with you about our current and future consultation work and explore how family engagement embeds a pathway of equity in our systems here in Tennessee. We feel that that is a really unique portion of our work. So we're excited to share that with you. We're going to share a lot of details around how we've gotten to where we are. We'll share some lessons learned, but in the midst of it all, I encourage you to be curious about what pieces of this might that you're doing, what questions that you might have, and how you might want to take some of this back to your own projects. We have a poll that we're going to launch here. I'd love to get a sense of who's in the room with us today. The poll's just going to ask a little bit about your background so that we know who we're talking with. Looks like those results are starting to flow in. So we've got a good percentage of mental health consultants and other, and then some variety. We've got some program administrators, early educators, home visiting, and higher education. So we will keep that in mind as we go through today's content, knowing that we have quite a diverse audience. We're glad that you all are here with us. All right. So I want to take a moment to introduce ourselves to you. Again, my name is Catherine Bell, and I am with the Association of Infant Mental Health in Tennessee, or AIMHI Tennessee, as the Director of Consultation and Practice. I'm coming to you with a lens of marriage and family therapy, as well as organizational leadership, and have a large portion of my background in infant and early childhood mental health consultation. Kelly?
Hi, everyone. I see some Tennessee friends in the participant list, and some people maybe that were in the morning session with the 3 AIMs as well. So good to see you again. My name is Kelly Seltzer. I'm also with the Association of Infant Mental Health in Tennessee, serve as the Infant and Early Childhood Mental Health Consultation Coordinator. So I'm supporting all of our consultation projects and grants. And currently live in Texas, so a big part of my heart is in Tennessee. Tyler?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Taylor Thurnow, and I serve as the Ready, Set, Grow Program Director at Tennessee Voices. We're a mental health nonprofit based out of Goodlettsville, Tennessee. And a lot of my background is actually working with infants and toddlers. So I have such a heart for working with the little ones. Catherine.
All right. So again, we're really excited to be with you all today. And this next slide has a quote that we really feel centers the work that we do. It says, when you have the right people at the right time doing the right thing, magic happens. We really cling to that here in Tennessee. And I think you'll see that as we share our story in the next few minutes. Kelly, I'm going to pass it to you.
All right, so I'm going to do my best to keep this as brief as possible, but Tennessee has such a rich infant mental health story, and I want to do it justice. So Tennessee's journey with infant and early childhood mental health consultation is really still in its infancy, but Tennessee's infant mental health community has long been at work laying the foundation for what we're doing today. And Catherine and Taylor and I are so fortunate to be standing on the shoulders of some really wonderful people who have laid a great foundation for this work. So we'll briefly detail the history of Tennessee's infant mental health work, explore relationships, opportunities, and cross-sector partnerships that have paved the way for consultation in our state. So here on the screen, you see a timeline of just the last 5 years, but I'm going to take us back a little bit further. Our story really begins over 30 years ago with the work of Tennessee's Regional Intervention Program, which was one of the first programs nationally in the parent-child support space. In the early 2000s, the infant mental health landscape in Tennessee included the RIP program. Home visiting had been in the state for, I think, maybe 10 years or so at that point. They're not statewide. And the Centers of Excellence for Children in State Custody had been established in part to train our clinical workforce in trauma-focused therapy. So in 2010, a pioneering group began meeting to discuss infant mental health efforts in the state. And in the beginning, those meetings really involved long hours on conference calls, no Zoom at that time. So on conference calls to discuss pockets of infant mental health work being conducted across the state. And for several years, this was the effort continued this way, laying the groundwork for what was to come. And thanks to the diligence of that early group, in 2016, the Association of Infant Mental Health in Tennessee was established. And infant mental health endorsement was brought to our workforce in 2017. At that time, in 2017, IECMH Tennessee also became officially a 501c3. To date, IECMH Tennessee remains the only state that offers infant and early childhood mental health endorsement for free. So I know other states are exploring that option, but we credit that to the incredible support of our State Department. Tennessee is also the fastest growing infant mental health association in both scope and endorsement. So we're #2 in the world for total number of endorsed professionals, second only to Michigan, where infant mental health endorsement was born. So I say all that, not to brag on ourselves personally, but just to say Tennessee has a rich infant mental health community, and we're very fortunate to get to work with some really wonderful and passionate people here. So bringing us into the timeline here on your screen, in 2018, Tennessee was accepted into the second cohort of 0 to 3's Financing Policy project. And one of our action teams associated with that work was tasked with seeking financing and expansion opportunities for infant mental health consultation. So in 2021, that action group commissioned a Tennessee-based consulting firm in Memphis to conduct a landscape analysis of consultation work in Tennessee and produce an advisory document detailing recommendations for building out a statewide system of consultation. So that work included a literature review and interviews conducted with friends and peer states to determine our next best steps. And occurring parallel to the growth of our consultation systems development work, the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services increased funding to Tennessee Voices, Taylor's program, which was at that time the Tennessee Voices Early Childhood program, now called Ready, Set, Grow, but increased program for them to scale up and expand the great work that they were already doing. So that program had been in operation for many years, and Taylor will talk more about this later as well, but been in operation for many years, but limited in scope, personnel, and reach. So with this expansion. She's really been working hard to shift into mental health consultation, and Taylor will tell us more about the scale up and expansion of her program in a few minutes. So in January 2022, as a part of the recommendations of that advisory document I spoke about, the Tennessee IECMH Consultation Coordinating Council, we love a title with lots of words. The Consultation Coordinating Council met for the first time to begin developing a shared vision for infant mental health consultation in Tennessee. And we'll talk a little bit more about that group in a minute. Then in late 2022, the Tennessee Department of Health awarded funds to Aim High Tennessee and our partners at Allied Behavioral Health Solutions and the Early Success Coalition to begin developing consultation support for Tennessee's evidence-based home visiting sector using ARPA dollars, which led to our launching the Tennessee IECMH Warm Line and ECHO programs earlier this year. And again, we'll return to those programs in a moment and tell you more about those. If I can move on here. So we've experienced incredible support and growth over the last few years, especially within consultation specifically, but that doesn't mean it's come without its challenges. So some of the things that have come up for us here in Tennessee is that, like I said, we've got incredible support from our state departments and consequently have been tasked with building a cross-sector consultation system. So we're navigating what consultation is and should look like in different sectors. What does that mean for early childhood education, and how is it the same or different from, say, home visiting? We also know that Tennessee is a very diverse state culturally and geographically. So we know that the needs of our families and children on the west side of the state are going to be very different from those in the east. Tennessee is a very short and long state. So from one end to the other, it might take 10 hours. Whereas if you're going top to bottom, maybe only a couple. So across that wide reach, we've got 3 grand regions that are just different cultures and have different ways of being and doing services. So how do we honor each of all of the different cultures and geographical considerations in our state through this work? We're also working through some conversations about how to create a unified vision and support structure for consultation programs in our state. So Tennessee does not have a state coordinator of consultation, as some states do, or state employed consultants. So how do we ensure fidelity and equity in services across the state? And I think we'll talk more about this in a minute too, but part of our answer to that is a hybrid system, a training and technical assistance hub that we're working to establish. One of the other challenges that we hold in mind are recommendations from the Center of Excellence for workforce to hold licensure. And we honor that and recognize the need for that. And we are also working within the reality of our own workforce capacity. So how do we, as we continue to build out our 0 to 5 clinical workforce, is there a way that we can define a continuum of consultation with different roles or expertise, honoring different ways of knowing and the experience and expertise that might be brought into this work by those who do not hold clinical licensure? So we're navigating some conversations around that. However, we also find ourselves building on incredible opportunities. So those have included, again, I think I've mentioned a couple of times our cross-sector reach, but because of our vast network of infant mental health partners in Tennessee, we have a large network of friends to support this work. And we're very fortunate in that. And hello to our friends who are on this call. I have been through the participant list and see your names. Glad you're here. We are also building on some other momentum that has contributed to this growth. So in particular, something that stands out is Tennessee's Building Strong Brains initiative. So Tennessee has a very long commitment to building the resilience of our little ones. And 6 or 7 years ago, maybe longer, we saw the launch of a very successful awareness campaign that made ACEs and traumatic stress a common terminology among our early childhood workforce and many others for that matter. And that was led by our friends at the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth. And now we're at a point where we answer, now what? We've got all of this information about children's stress and resilience, and people want to know what to do with that and how to respond to it. And there are initiatives underway to respond to that, but we know too that infant mental health consultation can provide a response in that gap. We're also looking at how to ensure that family voice is a part of the creation of this project. So we know that infant mental health consultation is a valuable service, and we want to involve the families in that service as well. We want the family to be integrally involved in the child's services that may be occurring in other settings. We don't want to assume that we know what is best, but respond to families' real needs. And so Tennessee has a long history with a peer support model. Taylor's also going to talk a little bit more about this later, but we call those individuals family support specialists. And these are individuals who have lived experience supporting children with mental health diagnoses. And so we are looking at how that role that's really embedded in a lot of Tennessee's programs and systems, how that role can intersect with our consultation work, and how we can leverage the history and success of that role with our consultation work. And one of the ways that we look to do that is through a TA opportunity that has come up through 0 to 3, the Built for Babies opportunity, which really has a focus on family engagement. And so we're going to be exploring that more over the next couple of years.
All right, so I want to touch briefly on funding streams. I think this is always a topic of interest when sharing about work. And so Kelly alluded to this, but we really do have the fortunate opportunity to be very cross-sector in our work. So we have funding that's inclusive of our Tennessee Department of Health, Human Services, Children's Services, our Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. We've also got some Project Launch and ARPA funds that are at work, as well as other dollars in the mix. So just wanted to highlight that there are lots of parts and pieces to that work, which we're very grateful for. Kelly, if you want to go to the next slide, I'll give you a bit more in-depth picture at how some of that actually plays out. This slide really highlights the vast reach of our programming, going all the way from the support and development of our clinical workforce that is primarily funded through our Department of Children's Services. We call that the Tennessee First 5 Training Institute. Our Department of Human Services has a great deal of focus around our early care and education sector. We work a lot with our child care resource and referral, ensuring that everyone is aware of mental health consultation, that they are well accessed to those supports, that we're really partnering with all of the different services that are at the table. Within our Tennessee Department of Health, we do a great deal of work within evidence from visiting. Again, we'll talk briefly about Warmline and Project Echo in just a few moments. And then through Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, there's a large presence from our Ready, Set, Grow program that you'll also get to hear from momentarily.
Thanks, Catherine. So I think in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through everything that was in this advisory report, but I think Catherine has that link ready to share in the chat. If you want to read more about that, it is kind of specific to Tennessee's work and best next steps for our state. However, you might find something in it that that could speak to where you're at as well. I will say something that we're proud of is that all of these recommendations are either in progress or completed in the last 2 years. So we've been hard at work on that. And then I just wanted to highlight some of the work of our Infant Mental Health Consultation Coordinating Council. So again, this first started in early 2022 out of the recommendations of that advisory document. And in January of 22, we began to meet to work to advance the identified recommendations and build out our statewide framework. So that first bullet point, our council formation, we really wanted to ensure a broad representation across sectors. Again, we are privileged to have a large network of support and people who want to be involved. And so we've got representation from our state departments of mental health, and DHS, as well as local mental health agencies, some friends from home visiting, CCR&R, and others as well. So we've got really a cross-sector group that has been meeting on these things. When we first started, we really needed to spend some time orienting everybody to infant mental health consultation. It wasn't something that everybody spends their time doing and talking about. So we had to spend some time setting a shared vision and shared language. We spent some time identifying a broad goal, which was the development of best practice recommendations for consultation in Tennessee. We were also supported in this work through a technical assistance opportunity with 0 to 3 through the Packard Foundation through the first 12 to 18 months of the council's work, which has really set a good foundation for this work. I'm getting lost in my notes here. We also set out our purpose. So the purpose of the Consultation Coordinating Council is to be a group of cross-sector professionals committed to building a sustainable, equitable, and accessible statewide IECMHC coordinated system in Tennessee. And so we've really, in the last 2 years, been in a stage of dreaming what that could mean, what that could look like. And we're really moving more into, especially as we're getting funding from different areas, moving more into a stage of doing and producing more. I'm gonna oh, nope, this is me too. So we're gonna talk about some of our current initiatives that we have going on. I'm gonna first describe to you where we're at building out our consultation blueprint. So this is something we've been in a conversation with our team at the council with for some time. And as I mentioned on a previous slide, Tennessee doesn't have a state coordinator or a state position to kind of unify our consultation work. So our response to that has been to develop a training and technical assistance hub for consultation in Tennessee. Aim High Tennessee was identified as the body to hold that hub with the accountability and input of our consultation council and supported by our Built for Babies TA. So that training and TA hub is intended to be sort of a pick and plug space where programs can come and not have to reinvent the wheel, where we can really work to produce a set of best practices and recommendations for our state and provide some really consistent training and TA opportunities for programs and consultants. Catherine, anything you would add there on that one?
No, I think we're really just trying to navigate the unique complexities that we have here in Tennessee of not having that state position, finding a way to really be able to meet our workforce, to develop and implement a model maintaining some fidelity, but also autonomy for our local implementing agencies across the state. It's a really unique way of being here.
Thank you. So we're actually now going to turn it over to Taylor. We've been talking a lot about our systems work, and so occurring simultaneously. We often say that we're kind of building the plane while we fly it. So we've got our systems work occurring, but we've also got some boots on the ground consultation work going on at the same time. And that is in the form of Taylor's Ready, Set, Grow program. And so she's going to take some time to talk to us about that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly. And thank you for the opportunity to share a bit more information. I'm so excited to give you guys some context around the history of our program and our journey to scale up and expansion. So starting around 2010, we received a grant to provide childcare consultation, which funded 2 positions for consultation and training for all 95 counties within Tennessee. So as you can imagine, that's quite a big undertaking, but nonetheless, our school-based services were delivered using the pyramid model as a guiding foundation. And our aim in that was to empower educators and caregivers to support children's acquisition of social emotional skills and mitigate challenging behavior in the classroom environment. And uniquely, our services were free to educators and caregivers, and there's no diagnostic requirement to participate in school-based services. In 2021, as Kelly referenced, we were fortunate to receive funding through the Tennessee Resilience Project, and that grew our team to 25 and counting. So we had a dramatic increase in capacity to offer school-based consultation services in select counties within Tennessee, and also to really begin emphasizing and integrating that element of peer support through the integration of family support specialists in the Ready, Set, Grow program, which was such a powerful and unique element to add. So as we began carving out what this would look like, we really valued the element of lived experience. And our FSS team is currently delivering family coaching to parents and caregivers, and that's a relationship-focused service that also uses pyramid model as the guiding framework and infuses strategies and elements from positive solutions for families to develop an individualized experience for all service recipients and families. So we pair an FSS with a parent or caregiver, and really our goal is to support them on their journey towards implementing best practices in parenting and mitigating challenging behavior in the home environment. From a workforce and professional development standpoint, all of our family support specialists are required to earn that certification Kelly referenced earlier. That's that CFSS Certified Family Support Specialist certification, with a unique requirement that to be eligible to participate in that certificate program in Tennessee, you do need to identify as the parent or caregiver of a child with a mental or behavioral health diagnosis. So that really brings such a unique lens to the work. Additionally, we've partnered with Aim High Tennessee to offer our team the opportunity to participate in monthly reflective supervision and consultation, and our team's also encouraged to pursue endorsement. And I'm so proud to share that to date, 12 of our 25 staff are endorsed, which is surprising considering most of us came on in 2021 with that expanded TRP funding. So it's something that we're certainly very proud of. And of course, we also participate in some ongoing training and communities of practice with Vanderbilt's Hemitter Lab to ensure that we're staying at the cutting edge and keeping up to date with pyramid model practices and strategies. Given that our program is grant funded, we certainly have goals that we are looking to meet. So I wanted to highlight just a few of those for you, as well as share some of the metrics that we're using to track and evaluate success with our consultation services. So a few of the things that we're looking for is decreased caregiver stress, improvement in a life domain, and increased school attendance. So some of the tools we use to measure include the DECA, PERM, which is the preschool expulsion risk measure, and we've also developed a retrospective family survey called the Family Impact Questionnaire. And I wanted to highlight a few metrics from our Family Impact Questionnaire. So this is a survey that's provided to families at the conclusion of consultation services. And in the last 3 months, 70% of families who completed the Family Impact Questionnaire reported a decrease in stress, and 80% of families reported fewer disruptions in family routines due to challenging behavior. So so wonderful to be starting a brand new program and be able to pull out metrics and identify that some of these pieces are really working. As Kelly shared, sometimes it feels like we're building the plane while flying it all at the same time. So continuing to align and refine our service delivery and collect data and determine how we can make things better into the future. So you've heard me talk a lot about our family support services and family coaching, and I'd love to highlight one of our family support specialists out of Middle Tennessee. Her name is Sheree Knowles. And Kelly, if we could flip to the next slide. Wanted to just give you a heads up that the audio does come through a little bit low. So if you don't have your volume turned all the way up, you may want to just turn it up for the video to hear. But again, so appreciative for Cherie sharing her perspective on the FSS role and her role in coaching families, as well as sharing, being so vulnerable as to share her own lived experience in this video. So without further ado, here is Ms. Cherie.
So I, as an FSS, we go into your home, we meet with the caregiver, and we discuss of what's going on with your child, why you contacted us, one, and dealing with the child's challenging behaviors each day or whenever they transpire. Trying to see if we can set up strategies or different learning tools to assist the family in kind of lightening that situation. As I explain to families all the time, challenging behavior isn't easy, just like being a parent or caregiver doesn't come with a manual. It's not easy. It's a little bit of trial and error. I've learned from my own self with my own child and life experiences, and just trying to get the situation where your child can be better off in a successful environment. You know, trying to get them not perfect. I don't want to say perfect, but trying to support them to just manage their behaviors, their feelings, knowing and being able to point those things out and knowing how to deal with them when they do arise.
Professionals with the caregivers.
A lot of the time the families are paired with caregivers based off, it could be something simple as their personality, a little bit of their background, keeps a hold of how you do have those particular cases that you're willing to help.
Tell me what that means to you. If I say preschool expulsion, what does that mean?
That touches a special place in my heart for preschool or children expulsion period, pre-K, kindergarten. I dealt with that with mine now. I'm gonna get emotional. I'm sorry, with my now 10-year-old.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. He had a lot of challenging behaviors, and I don't like when someone that doesn't know your child always constantly touches on, they could have this going on. You're not in my home. You don't know. You know what's going on. He did have challenging behaviors. We got him support he needed, and he got the help locally, and it made him become a better person. It helped me become a better mom, where I could understand my child's needs, and he needed me more than what I was giving him.
So appreciative for Ms. Cherie sharing that story with us. And before I turn it back over, just really want to highlight the power in a peer. So having somebody to truly walk that journey with you, we found as we've integrated the family support specialist team into our program, just such wonderful outcomes and results. And again, just very appreciative for Cherie being willing to share her story. And with that, I will turn it back over to Catherine.
Thank you so much, Taylor. I seen that video a couple of times, and each time I'm just so impressed and reminded of just what you said, the power of a peer. I'm very mindful of our time, and we do want to leave some time for Q&A. So I'm going to briefly share about a couple additional layers of support available here in Tennessee, and then we will leave some time for questions at the end. So on this slide, we're going to highlight Wormline and Echo. We'll start out with Wormline. I want you to think of a hotline that you might call. So start there and then think Wormline is open during working business hours. It is staffed by a licensed or license eligible mental health clinician with specific training in infant early childhood mental health. So a professional can go online, they can request a Wormline consultation, and then our consultant will reach out, they'll schedule a time to connect virtually, and they'll talk through whatever it is that is going on. So oftentimes this might be one of our CCR&R coaches, or perhaps it's a mental health consultant from Taylor's Ready, Set, Grow program. They may just be feeling a little bit stuck. They've tried some things, and so they're able to connect with this support, think about things from a different perspective. They may be able to connect with other resources that they weren't aware of or hadn't thought about. And it's just a great way to help ensure that we are bridging all of our supports. It could also be for a childcare provider, and perhaps they're feeling like that suspension or expulsion is the only way forward. Wormline is a great opportunity for them to connect, get some support, learn more about those resources. We say it's a no wrong door approach. And so it's really a way for us to ensure that folks are aware of the supports out there and they're able to get connected with them in a timely manner. Really proud of Wormline. It is a very new support here in Tennessee, but one that we've dreamed of for many years. Currently, it's available in our early care and learning sector, as well as our home visiting sector. Also want to speak about the Tennessee Infant Early Childhood Mental Health ECHO project. ECHO stands for Extension for Community Health Outcomes. It's a model centered on all teach, all learn. We have rolled this out within our evidence-based home visiting sector. We did some listening sessions to really identify the key topics that they're struggling with, that they're often stumped around. We've been able to bring in some speakers to directly address some of those topics. And it has also provided a real collaborative learning opportunity. So it's not just the presentation of content, but it's also a space to be able to ask questions, to bounce ideas off one another and really learn together. So that's been a really special space that we've been able to cultivate. Again, it's pretty new within the past year or so. Some of the topics we've had so far include perinatal mental health, cultural considerations as you're working with families, using assessments to inform Wormline consultation, and we've got lots of other sessions kind of in the wings that we'll be rolling out in the coming calendar year. Also want to speak to you a little bit about some of the things on the horizon. One of the constants in Tennessee is that it feels like things are moving rapidly, and that continues to be true. Of late, one of the key areas of focus has been our child welfare system. We've been able to identify plans to bring additional support to that sector, which we're really excited about. We are in the planning phase to roll out Wormline to our child welfare sector, amidst other pieces as well. We've also been looking at the hybrid system that Kelly mentioned earlier, really thinking about how we have a centralized group that's able to speak into those best practice recommendations for mental health consultation in the state of Tennessee, holding in mind both the National Center of Excellence recommendations as well as the realities that we're facing day to day in terms of our workforce and our needs. So really finding that middle ground and seeking to provide something that new programs can utilize as they come onto the scene with funding, so they're not having to start from scratch, so on and so forth. We are continuously looking at opportunities for alternative pathways. It's really, really important to us to ensure that we have equitable ways for professionals to be connected to these roles. Obviously, we want folks who are very well trained, who are highly qualified. This is specialized work. We also believe that it's therapeutic, but it's not therapy. And so really trying to be mindful of how we can bring folks to the table with that specialized content to connect them in the appropriate manners to some of these consultation supports. And certainly also utilizing our clinical workforce for the pieces that are warranted in that way. The last thing I'll mention here in terms of things on the horizon, we are engaging in a new TA opportunity with 0 to 3 built for babies. And that piece is really going to help us continue to hone in on this piece of family engagement and family voice in the development of our services as they continue. And finally, I want to leave you all with some lessons learned in Tennessee. So this slide kind of highlights some of the key things that we have found along the way. One of them being assuming needs versus asking. There have been multiple times in various projects where we have come together. There's this sense of urgency. This project has started. We've got to get deliverables out there. And then we realize, wow, we really jumped the gun, really wanting to make sure that we are honoring the voices, the perspectives, and the needs that the supports are for. So really taking that time to slow down, to ask, and to be intentional. Being flexible, being willing to modify along the way. It's a trial and error process, and it is a process. Finding balance between that space of reflection, wondering, curiosity, and urgency. Remembering that foundation setting takes time, but it is absolutely necessary. And then leveraging those points of momentum and opportunity, because it is so important that we continue that momentum, that we make sure our workforce feels supported and that they're aware of and able to utilize all of these really great supports. So we have talked a lot to you all today. This next slide does have our contact information, but we want to stay true to that promise that we'll have some space for questions here. So without further ado, I do see a note in the chat. If you have a question, I believe you can come off mute or raise your hand, and our tech hosts will bring you off mute. We're hearing no questions, so I want to lean on Jordan. Glad to share our contact information. I know it's on the screen, but if questions come up as you all have time to kind of let some of this soak in. I know in those spaces of conferences, it's lots of information intake, but we're always glad to be of support in any way, share information, and certainly love opportunities to learn from you all. So I hope that you found something helpful today. We don't have anything else. Jordan, anything else you need of us?
No, just thank you so much to our speakers for guiding us through this conversation today. And to all of the attendees, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you at future sessions if you can make it later today or even tomorrow. And yeah, if you guys don't have anything else, we can end the session here. But thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your day.